I want to show you something that I thought was interesting. I don't spend a lot of time playing CNN clips, as you guys know, but I want to play an interaction that the now Kamala Harris, who used to be Biden's, but then once Biden got pushed out, well, we already talked about that. I want to play a clip that he had with one of my favorite people over there, Jim Acosta. Let's take a look at that clip and show you how that back and forth went.
Would it kill you guys to have a press conference? Why hasn't she had a press conference?
Listen, the Vice President and Governor Walz have been busy crisscrossing this country since the launch of this campaign and adding Governor Walz to the ticket. You saw the ways in which they went across the battleground states last week, generating rallies of thousands, 10,000 here, 15,000 there.
But Michael, you know, a campaign rally is not a press conference. Do you mind if I cut in? I mean, you know, a campaign rally is not a press conference. Why hasn't she had a press conference? She's the vice president. She can handle the questions. Why not do it?
We absolutely are going to do it. You hear her take questions as she's out on the stump. And she said last week, we're going to be having a sit-down interview here before the end of the month. What she's going to be focused on and what this campaign is going to be focused on is communicating directly with the voters that are actually going to decide the pathway to 270 electoral votes. That's why she
Can you commit to a press conference this week?
This past week. That's why we're doing a bus tour in Pennsylvania as we head into Chicago. And it's why we'll sit down for an interview before the end of the month to make sure that we can have a deep dive conversation about the vision that Kamala Harris has for where she wants to take this country and the contrast that we're going to have with Donald Trump. We're going to have plenty of opportunities to do that throughout the rest of
but one interview by the end of the month.
This month and throughout the rest of the campaign.
I don't want to belabor this, but one interview before the end of the month. I mean, that's not a lot. I mean, can you commit to a press conference before the end of the month?
We will commit to directly engage with the voters that are actually going to decide this election. And that is going to be complete with rallies, with sit-down interviews, with press conferences, with all the digital assets that we have at our disposal.
I wish that Jim Acosta was in the White House when I was. Let's bring in the panel to discuss. Julie Gunlock, the better half of O'Connor Company on WMAL in Washington every day. Grace Curley up there in Boston on the radio, the host of the Grace Curley Show and a columnist for the Boston Herald. And then Tom LoBianco, who is a political reporter and founder of 24 Site News. You can get that on Substack. Great reporting there from Tom and his colleagues. He's also a veteran of CNN, Yahoo, and the Associated Press. Tom, I want to start with you. What's up with the kid gloves? Why is it so like? Could you maybe do one? Where was that Jim Acosta when he was in the White House? I wanted that one. The cute little cuddly Jim Acosta. Could you please do a press conference in the next month or so? Oh, so could maybe in a month? Oh, please. I don't remember that Jim Acosta.
Yeah, I don't think you were ever on the receiving end of that one.
Why? What is up with the why? And not just Acosta. Where's the outrage from your colleagues that democracy is under attack? No one's talking to the media.
It's out there, and I've made this point a couple times. In the newsletter, our 24/7 newsletter over at 24site.news, and I've also talked about this in a couple of additional interviews. They can't do this forever. Harris,
why not? Why not? They're getting away with it now.
Cannot keep running away from this.
But they can. I mean, I don't. But you guys and I apologize. I'm not trying to say you guys collectively, but you're the bona fide journalist here. Unless Julie wants to jump in and be part of this.
Look, all I'll add is this: I don't know why they can't keep this up. They can. They have been, and the idea. I mean, so much has happened in this country, from the assassination attempt to the pushing of Joe Biden out, which everyone admits. And now we have this woman who's been elevated to the position of the Democratic nomination without one single vote. And she hasn't sat down yet. I mean, again, aside from that, the idea that she's not even sat down to talk about the assassination attempt and the problems with the Secret Service and the problems that are plaguing Americans right now, that she was the vice president during this time. She wasn't just, a senator off in the background. She was a part of this administration. Everything that the country is facing right now, she should be answering for. And so when you say, this can't last, I don't know why it can't. The media's
right. And just to be clear, none of us want that, right? I mean, we all are. But if I knew I could get away with with what I see these guys getting away with it, I'd be like, I mean, I remember one point I was having a conversation with one of my bosses that I was staffing, and I was like, oh, this is how long the interview is going to go. And he was just like, why? And I'm like, well, because that's what they said. And it was early, and I was just like, I realized, like, I could push back. Like, what were they going to do to us? And Grace, the thing is, I don't want this to happen. And I think we want to be clear to listeners. But here's the funny thing. You saw little cutie Jim Acosta coming out. That was Jimmy Acosta, by the way. And if you know that Jimmy Acosta is going to be using kid gloves, why are you afraid? I mean, the headlines from most of these places, they're on your side. Check the box. It's not like these guys already got rid of Biden. They don't want Trump. They're going to take care of you. Wink, nod.
That's the part. It's not just that she's terrified or she doesn't think she's equipped to take questions from the media. It's that she's terrified and doesn't think she's equipped to take questions from a media that is so completely in the bag for her. And that's the part of it that should really frighten people because, and Mark Hemingway pointed this out today on the Federalist, if this is a woman who is so afraid of how she's going to answer things in front of a fawning press, what does that make you think about what she's going to be able to do when she's meeting with our adversaries or actually in charge of running the country, the leader of the free world? And I want to go back to that point about why wouldn't she do it? I keep thinking of it. There's this quote, and I don't know where it's from, but a lot of women use it where it's like you attract the love that you think you deserve in a relationship. So if you set your standards low for a relationship, then the man you're dating, and I'm using stereotypical gender here for like man, woman, heterosexual relationship, but typically it's like if a woman sets her standards very low and a man knows he can get away with not taking her out to dinner or not treating her right, he's going to continue to do that. And to Julie's point, in 2020, they basically ran the same playbook, and the American people, let's let that be the girlfriend in this situation, the American people let them do it. The American people said, sure, you don't have to take me out to dinner. Sure, you don't have to answer any of my questions. You don't have to treat me with respect, and I'll keep dating you. And so until the American people say, sorry, you didn't show up with flowers, you didn't show up for dinner, you're not getting my vote, it's over, I don't think they're going to do anything differently.
Well, here,
all right. Well, Tom, can I just ask you this? I'm not sure if you're the girlfriend but I think the American people might want it, but the press corps, if they're the girlfriend or the boyfriend in this situation, they're saying, we'll give you a pass.
Well, I'm not giving a pass here, and I don't see other reporters giving a pass. And let me go back to
wait, hold on. Listen, just to be clear, you don't think and again, it's not you. You guys write a newsletter. This isn't, but you don't think that they're getting a pass? They just put her on the cover of Time magazine.
Yes.
They put her on the cover of Time magazine without an interview. They didn't even. I mean, they
admitted it. They admitted it in the story. They actually said, we tried, but she wouldn't comment.
But because of that, we're just going to put a great cover on, a beautiful picture of you in your absence. Tom, I got to admit.
What it does is it creates a problem politically for them that they're going to have to address. And look, in all things campaigns, we all know this, in all things campaigns, it's messaging, it's communicating. And if you have a singular storyline that sticks, that becomes a problem. And I just don't see how they can avoid it. And
but he said, right, so he could have punted on that, her spokesman. And he said, by the end of the month, we'll do an interview, not a press conference. So you have, it is, hold on.
2 weeks.
It is
August 14th.
It is the 15th. It is the 15th of October.
Yeah.
She's got 2+ weeks to do an interview.
They need to do more. I mean, look, here's what I would say as a somewhat removed observer, somebody follows this stuff professionally. And I've said this many times over the years. I always think about Elizabeth Warren back in 2017, and she would have her staff run interference on us physically. I mean, it's like blocking and tackling with, little 120-pound, deputy comm staffers, blocking and tackling. And you can see me, I'm a pretty big dude, like keeping us away in the Senate hallways from asking her simple questions, any kind of question. And, granted, that might be what the principal wants at that moment, but it left her incredibly ill prepared for running for president 2 years later, because she did know how to answer these things. And it reminds me a lot of how Michael Tyler was handling those questions. Those were not good deflections. Those were not good parries. Somebody who actually, and you know this, Spice, like somebody who actually engages with the press routinely, learns how to talk with the press routinely, develops some rapport, understands things. And I think, frankly, they're harming themselves by putting themselves in a bubble.
Well, but the press is, if I were Michael Tyler, and I hate that I have to say this, but I mean, if I'm him, I look at her and say, okay, you do no interviews, you get the cover of Time, they fawn over us, they write all the stories that we want, they deflect for us and talk about, how our changing positions are okay because we've evolved or whatever. Doing an interview just has a ton. I mean, considering how she handles herself off teleprompter, it's all downside, right? But the thing that I find funny, Tom, is that during the tail end of the Trump administration, several media outlets said we're going to boycott, or they potentially wondered out loud, should we boycott press briefings because they're full of disinformation and blah, blah, blah. So even though they were being provided information, they didn't like it. And they said, maybe we should boycott this. Here you have the opposite. The candidate saying, I refuse to talk to you. And yet they're all writing great stories. Why isn't there a media outrage that says, fine, you don't want to talk to us? We're not going to write about you until you engage with at least someone in our ranks.
Grace, I don't know if you have a point. I just wanted to remind everyone, the Cleve Woodson, Washington Post reporter, that is a perfect example of what you're talking about, Sean, that it is not just that, they're okay not getting an interview and they're going to patiently wait and they're going to ask politely. It's that they actually do want some amount of censorship on platforms that provide information that they don't like, that goes against the narrative that they are feeding the American public. I mean, it is Nina Jankowicz it's like the call's coming from within the House. It's like they're willing to demand this of their own industry. So the problem here is so profound. I just don't think in my lifetime, it's sad to say, I just can't imagine. I mean, thank God for alternative media. Thank God for you. Thank God for some of the, the radio programs that we all represent. And I think we do see it in some of these news outlets failing and flailing and losing readership and listenership. So, but I think the problem is just so deep and profound that I don't think it's going to be fixed anytime soon.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.